Hello, knowledge seekers. In this episode of 20-Minute Books, we delve into Simple Habits for Complex Times, a discerning guide crafted for leaders who face the relentless uncertainties of today's world. Authored by Garvey Berger and Keith Johnston, this book moves away from rigid one-size-fits-all answers and instead focuses on fostering adaptive, nimble thinking, crucial for navigating the complexities of modern leadership scenarios. Garvey Berger brings her extensive experience as a leadership coach and the founder of Cultivating Leadership, complemented by her insights from Changing on the Job, Developing Leaders for a Complex World. Keith Johnston adds his expertise with a PhD in leadership development and significant roles in both government and non-profit sectors, including his work with Oxfam International. This book is particularly suited for budding CEOs eager to enhance their leadership acumen, ambitious professionals aspiring to effectively work within teams, and anyone interested in understanding the deeper psychological aspects of leadership. Join us as we explore key strategies from Simple Habits for Complex Times that will equip you to lead with confidence and agility in an ever-changing global landscape. Simple Habits for Complex Times, Powerful Practices for Leaders. Introduction: Understanding Success in a World of Complexity. In today's ever-evolving landscape filled with rapid technological advancements, shifting social norms, and unpredictable economic shifts, the old paradigms of leadership no longer hold true. Simple Habits for Complex Times offers a revolutionary approach that transforms the challenge of modern leadership into an opportunity for growth. Instead of relying on outdated methods that emphasize sheer effort and rigorous control, this book delineates a strategy centered around flexibility, systemic thinking, and the courage to ask pioneering questions. Authors Garvey and Keith Johnston bring this methodology to life with insights gathered from their extensive experience in coaching leaders. Through the narrative of this book, you will discover the significance of setting up guardrails as a means for safer navigation through uncertain times, rather than sticking strictly to fixed targets. Insights into situations where traditional cause and effect relationships don't apply, demanding a more nuanced approach to problem solving. And the counterintuitive wisdom that planning for failure can sometimes lead to the greatest successes. Aligning with these principles can guide modern leaders through the maze of today's business world, turning complex challenges into stepping stones for innovation and achievement. Part 1. Adapting Leadership for a Complex, Interconnected World. Imagine Yolanda, the newly appointed head of a child welfare agency, tasked with overseeing foster care placements. It's a critical role, but she inherits a system in disarray where, despite her best efforts, from initiating thorough investigations to extensive data gathering, children still end up harmed or missing. Her struggle illustrates the harsh realities of our complex world, where conventional methods of problem-solving often fall short. The story of Yolanda underscores a vital truth. Today's global interconnections have birthed a reality marked by volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity, often abbreviated as VUCA. This concept reshapes our understanding of leadership, demanding new skills and approaches from everyone, be it a CEO or a school teacher. Traditionally, leaders have used historical data to forecast future events. But in a VUCA world, the past is no longer a reliable predictor of the future. Consider how, centuries ago, career paths were straightforward and few. Now, shaping a career might mean preparing for roles that do not yet exist. This seismic shift calls for leaders who can navigate through unprecedented scenarios. To thrive amid these complexities, leaders are encouraged to develop 3 essential mental habits. Firstly, they should master the art of asking expansive questions. Instead of merely asking, "What happened?" it's crucial to also consider, "What else could have happened?" This approach broadens the scope of understanding and preparation for future anomalies. Secondly, embracing multiple perspectives is crucial. A true leader looks beyond personal viewpoints, striving to understand diverse perspectives. Acknowledging different opinions might reveal unexpected insights, fostering more holistic decision-making. Lastly, leaders need to conceptualize issues from a systemic angle. Instead of viewing problems through a narrow lens of cause and effect, recognizing the interconnectedness and multiple influences in scenarios can unveil deeper insights and more effective solutions. By integrating these practices, leaders like Yolanda can transform overwhelming challenges into manageable components, creating a conduit for innovative solutions and resilient leadership in today's tangled world. Part 2. Exploring the depths of complex systems beyond mere cause and effect. Revisiting the example of Yolanda, imagine her engulfed by mountains of paperwork detailing cases of missing children. Each folder filled with events, descriptions, and data, yet they yield no clarity on the intertwined reasons behind the children's tragedies. Yolanda's challenge is a classic scenario of encountering a complex system. These systems are intricate meshes of variables and interactions, capable of generating a spectrum of outcomes, making prediction a daunting task. To effectively manage such systems, a shift in mindset is crucial. The key idea here is that understanding complex systems transcends simple cause and effect reasoning. Historically, grasping the notion of cause and effect provided our ancestors significant survival benefits. This mechanism helped them link certain behaviors with safety or danger, embedding a pattern-seeking tendency within human cognition. However, this linear approach isn't universally applicable. For instance, the past success of VHS tapes doesn't guarantee their future popularity. In cases where conventional linear thinking falls short, we are likely grappling with a complex system. These systems defy straightforward cause and effect logic due to their dynamic and interconnected nature. To address issues within these systems requires a focus not solely on individual outcomes, which may not reoccur under the same conditions, but rather on the systemic processes that enable such outcomes. To begin untangling a complex system, it's pivotal to dissect its current structure, identify and map out its components and their interconnections. This map then serves as a base to forecast potential futures, helping to distinguish probable outcomes from less likely ones. This method of system analysis is intricate but rewarding. It exposes a system's underlying tendencies, patterns of behavior that persist under the surface. By introducing small strategic alterations within the system, it's possible to shift these tendencies toward more favorable outcomes. Thus, leaders like Yolanda can gradually steer complex systems in a direction that mitigates challenges and enhances functionality. Part 3. Transform feedback from a monologue to a dialogue. Imagine the atmosphere in a consulting firm during performance reviews after a particularly challenging year. Picture the senior director and her employee, both weary from the tumultuous changes, sitting across from each other. Neither person is particularly eager to engage in this stressful exchange. This common workplace scenario highlights a critical question: is there a better way to handle feedback? The principle here is clear. Feedback should form loops, not lines. Typically, feedback is seen as a one-directional flow, where the manager, assumed to possess all the right answers, imparts their wisdom to the employee. This linear approach can be restrictive and doesn't foster the environment needed for organizational growth. Instead, feedback should be a mutual dialogue. This means transforming feedback sessions into collaborative discussions where both parties contribute to and learn from a collective pool of knowledge. Each participant should not only share but also actively listen to the other's input. Implementing this effectively can be challenging, but dividing the feedback into 3 components can help. Firstly, focus on the facts. This involves discussing objective data, figures, specific incidents, and observable behaviors. Secondly, delve into feelings. Encourage each person to express how these facts affect them emotionally. What aspects are motivating and what aspects are frustrating? Lastly, explore the impacts. Discuss the consequences of these emotions and perceptions. What actions were taken as a result? How did these actions influence the workplace environment? By structuring feedback in this multidimensional way, it becomes possible to construct a comprehensive and realistic understanding of situations. Both manager and employee engage as active participants, each capable of influencing and adjusting to new insights. This dynamic approach not only reduces the likelihood of tension, but also enhances the agility and responsiveness of the organization, better preparing it for future uncertainties. Part 4. Embrace experimentation to navigate uncertainty. Imagine a challenge where groups, architects, consultants, and children are given simple materials like spaghetti, string, tape, and a marshmallow, and tasked with building the tallest structure. Surprisingly, the children often outperform the professionals. Why? Because while architects apply technical skills, children use their creativity freely and fearlessly, not worried about failure since they get to eat the marshmallow regardless. This scenario perfectly illustrates the unpredictable nature of goals and the pathways to achieving them. In today's dynamic environment, what seems critical now may become irrelevant, and the paths we plan might lead us astray. Hence, the vital lesson. Planning for an uncertain future requires room to experiment. Traditionally, leadership followed a straightforward path: gather data, set a clear goal, and systematically pursue it. But in our volatile world, information constantly changes and goals shift. Sticking rigidly to a plan is no longer feasible. Instead, visionary leadership entails setting a broad, overarching goal paired with a flexible methodology for achieving it. This strategy prioritizes adaptability and responsiveness. How does one adopt this flexible approach? Begin by moving away from rigid, strictly quantifiable targets like keep customer calls under 10 minutes. While these provide clear metrics and a sense of security, they foster rigidity. In a fast-changing world, such rigidity can render an organization obsolete. Instead, establish broader objectives and experiment with various strategies to achieve them. Define what safe-to-fail experiments look like by setting boundaries for acceptable outcomes. For instance, aiming for higher customer satisfaction might allow for a temporary dip in revenue, but not for legal breaches. This freedom to experiment within defined limits encourages innovation and allows teams to test bold ideas without fear of critical failure. Such an environment not only drives progress toward the overarching goal, but also keeps options open for unexpected, sometimes more effective paths. This experimental mindset not only adapts to change, but thrives on it, potentially leading your organization to surprising and successful new directions. Part 5. The intricate humanity within organizations. When conjuring up the image of the perfect colleague, terms like clear-headed, logical, and impeccably calculating often come to mind. Yet this ideal more likely belongs in a scenario aboard a sci-fi starship rather than in our everyday office environments. This brings us to a crucial realization. Organizations are complex because people are complex. The notion that emotions and personal biases should be checked at the office door is a common but unrealistic expectation. Workplaces pulse with human emotions, the irritations, the celebrations, and everything in between, enriching the tapestry of our daily professional lives. This emotional range significantly influences decision-making processes. Despite our aspirations towards rationality, human decisions are frequently swayed by a myriad of cognitive biases and emotional responses. One impactful cognitive shortcut is confirmation bias, where we tend to acknowledge only the information that reinforces our pre-existing views. Similarly, the familiarity bias makes us gravitate towards known quantities and individuals, favoring them over unknowns. Another is the fundamental attribution error, where we often attribute problems to people's characters or actions, overlooking broader situational factors. For instance, if a department underperforms, it's tempting to pin the blame on leadership failures. However, the root causes might be more nuanced, such as underlying economic conditions or temporary health crises among the staff. These biases and emotional nuances contribute to the complexity of organizational life. Recognizing and acknowledging this human aspect can lead to more effective problem solving. By encouraging diverse perspectives and collective problem solving, organizations can mitigate the risk of being overly influenced by individual biases. This diversity not only broadens the range of potential solutions, but also helps in building a more resilient and understanding workplace culture. Part 6. Navigating uncertainty with adaptive communication. Consider the dynamics of an orchestra and a jazz band. The orchestra follows a structured score with precision under the guidance of a conductor. In contrast, a jazz band thrives on spontaneity and interactivity. Each performance is unique, guided by the fluid exchange of cues and riffs among the musicians. This approach not only accommodates but also celebrates unpredictability and innovation. This analogy mirrors the shift needed in organizational communication in today's complex world. The key insight here is a complex world demands new approaches to communication. Traditionally, organizational leaders acted like orchestra conductors, providing clear, structured narratives that delineated both the destination and the path to get there. This linear and directive approach suited a more stable and predictable business environment. However, akin to a jazz ensemble, modern organizations operate in a VUCA, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity, environment where definitive outcomes are often unknown and paths to them are not linear. In this context, the role of a leader transforms from a conductor to a facilitator who sets a broad direction but remains open to various paths to achieve it. For instance, a company intent on increasing digital services might have a clear objective but might leave the specifics fluid to adapt to emerging technologies or market changes. In this scenario, communication is less about instructing and more about engaging. It's about crafting a narrative that is open-ended yet directional, less about detailed maps and more about compasses. Leaders in such environments benefit from utilizing adaptive language and metaphors that emphasize process over destination. Phrases like exploring new territories or navigating currents can replace rigid goal-oriented language. This shift encourages a culture of exploration and adaptability, where the journey's learning and discovery are as valued as the outcome. Adopting this jazz-like approach to communication might initially unsettle teams accustomed to concrete directives. Leaders should openly acknowledge these feelings, emphasizing that navigating uncertainty can be both challenging and exhilarating. Encouraging teams to embrace these complex emotions is crucial for fostering resilience and flexibility under VUCA conditions. Part 7. Embracing change as an opportunity for personal and organizational growth. Reflect on the most significant changes you've experienced throughout your life. Were they deliberate, like relocating to a new city, or unexpected, like an abrupt career shift? Or perhaps they were so gradual that you only realized they'd occurred after the fact. Change manifests in myriad ways, yet it remains a constant in life. Understanding how to manage and respond to change is essential, notably for leaders. Those who navigate change most effectively are typically adaptable, viewing new challenges as opportunities to develop and refine skills, and considering each twist and turn as a chance to demonstrate flexibility and resilience. The core principle here is to approach every change as a chance to grow. Carol Dweck, a renowned psychologist from Stanford University, identifies two primary mindsets that shape how individuals perceive their capabilities and respond to change. The first is a fixed mindset, where individuals see their abilities and identity as static. The second, a growth mindset, embraces the idea of continuous development and dynamic potential. Those with a growth mindset are notably adept at handling the volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous VUCA conditions of our world. They perceive identity not as something to be definitively formed, but as ever evolving. If you find yourself more aligned with a fixed mindset, do not be discouraged. Transitioning to a growth mindset is possible and begins with nurturing a self-transforming outlook. This perspective accepts the unpredictable nature of the world, but recognizes that our responses to uncertainty are within our control. To cultivate such a mindset, consider shifting the questions you ask yourself. Rather than pondering, "What am I?" or reflecting on past actions, focus on potentialities, what can I change, and how do I envision my future self? This adaptive mindset can extend beyond individuals to entire organizations. Evaluate your organization's norms and practices. Do they uphold the status quo, or do they encourage innovation, experimentation, and flexibility? Sometimes well-intended policies like hiring the most experienced candidate might limit potential for new insights and approaches. Ultimately, whether it's within personal or professional realms, growth is not a destination, but a continual journey. An ever-changing world requires that both individuals and organizations remain perpetually open to transformation, leveraging each change as an opportunity to evolve and thrive. Part 8. Nurturing change within organizations. Consider the difference between turning on a light and cultivating a garden. The former is instantaneous. The latter requires time, patience, and the right conditions to flourish. This analogy extends to organizational change in today's VUCA, volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world. Effective change isn't about quick fixes or pressing the proverbial fast-forward button. It's about cultivating the right environment for gradual and sustainable transformation. The essential insight here is, organizational change can't be forced, it must be cultivated. Embracing the challenges of a VUCA environment is commendable, and the desire to act swiftly is understandable. However, the complexities of modern organizations and the unpredictability of external factors necessitate a more measured approach. Rushing to solve problems can lead to hasty decisions, relying on familiar yet outdated solutions, or failing to fully appreciate the consequences of new actions. Instead, fostering an environment that values deliberate pace over haste can be more beneficial. This might involve starting meetings with a clear problem definition phase, where solutions are initially off the table, allowing participants to fully digest and discuss the issues at hand. For larger initiatives, consider phases of experimentation, welcoming periods of trial and error as part of the process. Creating a non-hierarchical, flexible environment is crucial. Enable a free flow of feedback across all levels of the organization. Articulate a general direction for the organization's journey, rather than a fixed endpoint. Recognize every challenge or setback as a learning opportunity, not a step backward. Implementing these changes won't transform an organization overnight. This is a gradual process, much like gardening, where consistency and patience pay off. Over time, these practices will embed themselves into the organizational culture, making it more resilient and adaptable to the complexities and volatilities of the modern world. Keep nurturing these habits and watch your organization grow and thrive in the ever-changing landscape. Final summary. The landscape of our world has transformed dramatically. It's faster, more interconnected, and technologically sophisticated than ever before. This evolution brings with it volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity, collectively known as VUCA conditions. These changes demand a new style of leadership, one that is adaptable, dynamic, and flexible. Effective leaders in this complex environment embrace the inevitability of change, seeing it not as a hurdle but as an opportunity for growth and innovation. They foster a culture where feedback is not a one-way street but a continuous loop, encouraging open dialogue and mutual learning. Moreover, they empower their teams to experiment boldly and creatively, navigating through uncertainty with a clear vision but flexible strategies. Navigating today's complexities requires leaders who are not just managers of the status quo, but pioneers of the possible, continually adapting and learning as they go. Such leadership is essential for thriving in the intricate and ever-evolving global landscape. Thank you for joining me today on this journey of learning and discovery as we explored the insights of another thought-provoking book in our growing library of knowledge. If you've enjoyed our time together, please take a moment to follow our podcast, give us a 5-star rating, and share 20-minute books with other knowledge seekers. Your support truly means a lot. Don't forget to join me again in the next episode, where we will delve into another enriching book. Until then, happy reading and happy listening.